Can we do that for retrofitting houses or imposing building standards? Yes, you can. Yes. Right? If you take the roof off and you put a new one on, we know what the cost is. Okay, so we have costs and benefits. We have all kinds of solutions. What should we do?
So like through a regulation, you mean?
No, no. What?
You mean about the building?
Yeah. Should we do this one, this one, this one?
No, how are you going to review houses? Through the regulation?
Doesn't matter.
Just recommendation or what?
Yeah, it could be through a program, it could be regulations, whatever. But which is the best solution?
Most efficient solution.
Yeah, the cheapest solution. So that's the key of externalities. Finding the cheapest solution, the most efficient solution, assuming that it is equally as effective.
But in case of huge fire or something like that?
Right? So what happens next? If we know this as economists, and this is what we're trying to solve, what usually happens next, or what's happening now? What do you think would be happening?
People aren't very happy about it.
No, people, especially up here, are definitely not happy about this. So what do they say? They say the government should pay.
Yeah.
Whenever you have an externality, there is always a call for government intervention, okay? So if it's a public type problem, yes, the government will pay. Somebody's going to pay. And government money is really our money, it's taxpayers' money. So how do we minimize that cost? We want to achieve the least cost solution. How come we keep getting derailed? What happens? We take these issues to the courts and we assign blame. We say the government is not protecting these communities, they should pay more. And so because we do that, we say the government should pay more, meaning the Forest Service, we think right away, Forest Service, these are the options. Prescribed burning, thinning, changing the way we fight fire, changing how we protect, how we manage the forest. Should we stop thinking? Is that the best solution?
Fire is an element, but it's hard to control.
Doesn't matter. Is this the best solution? Should we stop right there? If we say the government is to blame, the government is liable, we think the government has these options, right? Prescribed burning and thinning. Is that the only option the government has? What else could the government do?
Just after fire, just save money or
Could what?
something. After fire, like, just.
After the fire, pay the people?
Yeah.
They could like make policy that it's mandatory that you retrofit your building or clear trees, and if you don't, then it's not their problem.
We could do that. What we tend not to think about is if the best solution is to retrofit houses and the houses are private, or they belong, or the infrastructure belongs to Cameco or Riva or Shore Gold or whatever, then those people should pay. If the best solution is to retrofit and we still decide to blame the government and rule in favor with property rights for the government, then the government can explore these kinds of options. So why don't we, the society, pay for the retrofitting and, fixing these houses? But we don't think like that.
Lots of people don't want that. Like my grandparents have a cabin up at Orange, and my the Forest Services told them they need to clear the trees away from their cabin.
Yeah.
They need to change their shingles, and he won't because he says, "You've had a cabin here for 50 years, and one fire was close within was close to us. Other than that, we've been fine." And he likes the trees more than clearing them away, like the risk of having it burned down. He'd rather have the trees and enjoy them.
That's what most people think. The Oakland Hills in California have burned down so many times it's not even funny. And you see those horrific fires it's starting to be fire season now in California. You look at after a fire has burned and you see these houses and they're just little charred pads and there's nothing left. You would think that after a horrific event like that, people would be willing to have regulations, and they're not. Even in the same place where lightning does strike twice and these houses have burned down numerous times. So that's a political challenge that we're faced with, and that's a political challenge that we're dealing with here. Does it make sense to fight all fires in the north? No, not from an economic perspective, especially when you're taking resources away from an area where you would protect more people. What's happening is none of these communities have been burned out and there have been no lives lost. So the policy is working, but people don't like the policy. But ultimately, what you have to remember is that we have scarce resources. So if you spend them here, you can't spend them here, and vice versa. There's a trade-off. So this is one of the ways that you need to think about externalities. Not who is to blame, who has to pay, but what is the least cost solution and how do we arrive there? Property rights will often rule in favor of one party or another, but that should not stop the negotiations and paying for a solution that makes more sense. Unfortunately, it usually does. Do you have any comments or questions? What's that?
Unpredictable.
Fire is unpredictable, and that's part of the problem. Where do you situate the resources? And it's a logistical nightmare. Okay, so there's this famous guy named Ronald Coase. In 1960, he wrote The Problem of Social Cost. This article has been around forever, and it's an interesting article. It's incredibly tedious to read. It's something like 40 pages. And what he does is dissect externalities to the point where you just want to stick needles in your eyes. But he takes 3 or 4 cases, and one of them is, you got a person who lives here and a person who lives here, they're close together, and the smoke from this chimney goes down this chimney and causes an externality. There's another case of where you've got all these cows, whatever cows is like, longhorn cows, antelope, I don't know. Anyway, the fence breaks, they go over here, and they eat all the wheat. So who should pay? You can calculate the cost of not having the cows, of not having the grass, of fixing the fence. These are all real cases that have gone to court and one party has been ruled, or property rights have been ruled for one party or the other. And you can go through a million cases like this, but it's always the same. So what Ronald Coase says, he came up with the Coase theorem, and basically you have some key factors that you need to think about. Where did I write it? Okay. So you have reciprocity, which basically means, what are you guys doing back there with that green phone? I see it go ding, 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 and then you're texting, and then you're, I don't know what you're doing, downloading movies probably?
No.
Downloading what then?
Nothing.
You tried already, you know that? Oh, can't do it, sorry, you tried. Okay. Sorry, you got busted, I saw Matt had it before. Anyway. Okay, so reciprocity. You guys in the back, what does reciprocity mean? You're gonna be all badass today. Yeah, seriously, I want an answer.
Oh.
What does it mean? What do you think? All of you.
Truce should repeat.
What? It takes 2 to tango. So what does that mean? If you remove either one of these parties, if you remove the cattle, you don't have a problem because there's nobody to break the fence and eat the corn or the grass or whatever it is. If you remove the grass, And this operation over here, the farm operation, you don't have a problem. The cows can go wherever they want. So you can't talk about fault. When you have a case of an externality, there are two parties involved, and it doesn't matter what happens. We can rule for one party or the other, and you can still reach the most efficient solution. So reciprocity has to do with not assigning blame, that if you took away either party, the problem would go away. Take away either actor or player, whatever you want to call it, the problem goes away. The second thing he says is that we should be able to negotiate to achieve the cheapest solution or the most efficient solution. So this means once a case has gone to court, doesn't matter. If the ruling is for the rancher, fine, there's certain costs associated, just like with the fire. You automatically think, oh, the rancher then has to fix the fence and do whatever it takes to keep his cows on one side. If the ruling is for the farmer, or against the farmer, then the farmer has to fix the fence and whatever, make sure there's nothing over there to attract cows. It doesn't really matter though. What you can calculate is the cost of fixing the fence or the cost of establishing some other solution to keep the cow from going across the property. The same with the smoke. You can install some equipment here, it doesn't matter who does it, or you can remove one of the parties. So the question is, what is the most efficient solution? So it doesn't matter about the property rights, who gets them. You can negotiate beyond the property rights to see, all you're determining with property rights is who is going to pay. You're not determining what they're going to pay for. What we need to do is focus on the most efficient solution. Can you think of externalities that you see around home or in the news or whatever? I don't know much about the Percy Schmeiser case, but you're kind of laughing. So what happened in the Percy Schmeiser case?
Monsanto got tips that Percy was growing Roundup, or Roundup canola, and
yeah.
he said they tested it and he was, and he said he wasn't, and I don't know, it was like 67% of his field was full of
Didn't he say
Roundup.
it blew in
So he
on
said
the
it
wind or
blew in
something?
from, but either way, that wasn't Monsanto's fault, but so
No.
they sued him, and then
Okay.
he, I don't know, ended up getting an award from Gandhi. We did this yesterday
Really?
in class, yeah, for standing up for himself peacefully.
Oh,
But-
well.
More or less, he was full of crap.
Yeah, go Percy. Okay, the thing I knew about it was just happening when I got here, back to Canada, and I heard about it blowing in on the wind, right? And causing an external cost. So if that truly happened, then it might be an externality. And how would you prevent that from happening? How would Monsanto prevent their seeds from going onto somebody else's farm and causing all these problems? Okay. Any other examples of externalities? You guys at the back should have some.
Like an
Not just
airport
you.
flying over the city,
Yeah.
disturbing residents
Yep.
that live right by.
Yep, that's a case I'm working on now on my business. There's a potash mine going in the south, and all these people are going to be affected by a new railroad line and an incredible increase in traffic. So the question is, who's at fault? Well, of course, if there was no mine, there would be no extra traffic. On the other hand, if nobody lived out there, it doesn't matter, because there's areas that aren't affected. So whose fault is it? We would say it's the mine, because the people were there first. But who cares? That's not the issue. The issue is, how do you compensate the people, or how do you mitigate the situation? These are real problems we see every day. The airport case, when they expanded the runway, or the airport in Vancouver, Same deal. Went to court, who should pay?